Hey folks, Doomed Wizard here. After the video I made on my friend Mike Indovina's Greek mythology role-playing game Argonauts Odyssey, some of you took an interest in it and wanted to know more. So I thought, why not make a couple videos breaking the game down a bit? Well, Mike was up in the tower again last night, so we talked a bit about characters and character creation. If you're not familiar with Argonauts Odyssey, you might want to go back and watch that video first. Go ahead, we'll wait. And now, through the magic of editing.
Okay, well, Argonauts Odyssey is based in a die 100 system, which means you roll percentile dice for most things. It does use 6-sided dice also.
Oh yeah. That's where I get confused, because a lot of times you'll say it's a percentage dice system, but I'm like, but we use 6-siders a lot in that game too. So.
Right. But
and it's based on Greek mythology, where you actually play mythological characters if you want, or your own versions, your own type of characters.
Right. I designed it so that you could play pretty much any type of character from Greek mythology. You know, not just the heroes and the demigods, but you could play a satyr, a nymph.
Like you're not just playing Brad Pitt. You're playing or The Rock.
You could even play the mechanical owl if you wanted to.
Yeah.
From whatever movie that was.
Clash of
the Titans, right?
Okay.
Right.
Well, why don't you take us through like the basic steps to how you would make a character?
Okay, so these are the 8 aspects. With fortitude, dexterity, charm, instincts, sagacity, artistry, providence, and philosophy. And then there are 2 traits, arte and psyche. Arte is your physical ability, and psyche is your mental ability. So arte basically is kind of like hit points, and psyche is like your mental hit points, basically. Then you'll have skills, divine gifts, and tragic flaws. Skills, there are a few skills dedicated to each of these aspects. Like for fortitude, it would be, well, we'll get to that in the book. But divine gifts are like sort of like powers you can have for your character. Not exactly superpowers, but just abilities that your character has that could be based on a lot of different things. I mean,
right.
So once you roll up your stats, you get to pick a race. And now where those 8 extra points come into play is each race has what we call divine gifts that you can buy that go along with it. Like, for example, if you're a demigod, you could have the loved trait, which means which means that there's a god who is in favor of you and helps you out. Now there's also tragic flaws, which give you extra points to spend.
Right. Like if you have the tragic flaw, you get more to add to the 8 points.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly. Well, let's go over the races first, since we're in that part of the book. We have humans, which is just like a normal human being. A demigod, which is a human being that's descended, or that has a parent that's a god, a single parent.
Like Hercules would be
right,
a
like Hercules,
a demigod,
or Perseus,
or Perseus,
or Orpheus, or whoever. Okay. Okay, then we have Amazons. Now, Amazons are basically human, but they're like the warrior women.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I'm sure everybody knows what an Amazon is. Okay, centaurs, which is a half horse, half man. I'm sure most people know.
Yeah, most people who play role-playing games know the basic monsters.
Right.
So yeah, but in this case, you don't just fight centaurs. You can actually play one.
Right. Now, satyrs, one of my favorites. It's just like they had the half goat, half man. Depending on, there are many kinds of satyrs, but that's basically what it is. Nymphs. Spartae are they're sort of like, I don't want to say undead, but they've come back from the grave basically, and they're like you've seen Jason and the Argonauts, where the skeletons come back to life.
Oh, so that's what this is based on?
Yeah.
Kind of, okay. I wondered about that when I was reading it earlier.
Now, in mythology, they weren't actually skeletons. They were just sort of warriors that came up out of the ground.
But skeletons look cool on
Right.
camera.
Yeah, and I'm glad he used skeletons.
Yeah.
It was an awesome scene. Now, there's some other lesser-known ones. Curetes. Erotes, which are like little cupids. Tritons.
And that's really the beauty. One of the beauties of this game is just the fact that you can play this stuff as opposed to encounter it in most role-playing games, including D&D and the like. You can actually play, the stone men or the little pixies or fairies.
Right.
Well, I don't want to talk about pixies because we all know how my encounter with a pixie ended.
All right, Atlanteans I threw in there because Atlantis is a pretty well-known.
And this is pre-sunken Atlantis, or 'cause I haven't
No,
read
this is post-sunken Atlantis.
Okay.
So I have them being aquatic people, like Aquaman, basically. Automations, which they're like sort of like mechanical creatures, animated statues.
Yes, so getting back to Jason and the Argonauts, we're talking the big statue.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, like Talos.
Yeah, Talos.
The statue.
Yeah.
But you could also, you could play any kind of mechanical creature. It could be any shape.
Is this where the bubo comes in?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
Yeah. You could even be the little mechanical owl, R2D2 owl from Clash of the Titans, if you wanted to. No. So see, I tried to fit everything in. Every kind of character type or thing that you could imagine having to do with Greek mythology.
Well, that's just it. One of the lures of 5e is just the myriad creatures you can play as a PC.
Right.
This game does that too, especially when you have this where you can make what you want or interpret it how you want. Like your satyrs, you could be your normal satyr guy, or you could be your little squatty fat, like your Salinas character.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. All right. Giants. I figured, why not?
Yeah.
You could be a giant. And giants have a lot of different... because in Greek mythology, giants were sort of... usually had some kind of weird deformity. Like the Cyclops had one eye. Argus had 100 eyes all over his body.
And this is Argus here, I'm assuming.
Yeah, this is my version of Argus.
Yeah, your
I made
version,
him sort of a... almost like stone-like creature with gemstones for eyes. That was just my imaginative take on it. Okay. Now we get to the archetypes.
Right. And the archetype is like a class.
Oh, yeah. It's like a class in D&D. They're not quite as restrictive as classes because you can always... you could be a priest that is good at fighting or a wizard that's good at fighting. You don't have to limit yourself to there's no wizards can only use daggers and
Right.
anything like that. But you do start with certain pieces of equipment that kind of fit your career choice. So we have commoner, warrior, hunter, huntress, mariner. And those are sort of like the basic.
Yeah. They're pretty
classes.
self-explanatory.
Trickster is sort of like a thief, but just sort of a tricky guy, like from mythology. I sort of based it on like Sisyphus, or Odysseus even, who use their cleverness to get through their problems. Okay, now hero. That's I guess self-explanatory. You're like a Greek hero who's good at fighting, and you can have a magic object, a special steed, Herculean strength, things like that.
Yeah, and another fun part about this is you don't go heavy into the detail. You kind of just lay it out pretty quickly, so that character creation doesn't take that long at all. So
Right.
even if you're not like me, at my age, I get kind of confused with when I'm trying to learn newer games. But when you have as little information as possible to get the thing moving forward, it doesn't take that long to figure out how to do it.
Right. So what else do we have? Priest, priestess. The architect is like the character in mythology named Daedalus, who built the wings to fly, to safety. So it's basically someone who has this advanced knowledge of how to make things.
So if you needed a Tony Stark on your team,
Right, exactly.
you'd want the architect.
Yeah, the ancient version of Tony Stark.
Yes. Anthony is Starkus.
All right, the musician, sorcerer, sorceress. They're self-explanatory. The musician is someone who plays music and can do magical things with their music.
The horny bard, for instance,
Right.
could be a musician.
Right. Siren. Now, Siren is sort of unique. I don't know any other games that have that type of character. But it's basically you get by on your on your good looks. It's like you're a beautiful woman or possibly man, who has powers that are based on that. Like you can soothe the savage beast, befriend animals. You even have, at higher levels, you have what I call seductive enslavement. In other words, you can persuade people very easily to do things.
If anybody knows of a game system that does have something like a siren, let us know in the comments. Now, the thing about 5e that a lot of players like is just the literal superhero-iness of the game. Well, you don't get much more superhero than the original heroes. The system's different. It's not hard to pick up, but it definitely would satisfy that itch that 5e has for a lot of people.
Now, the main ad it's a female follower of Dionysus, who is the god of wine. And they basically are women who can enter a frenzied state and gain strength and speed and animal-like abilities because of it.
So, like, if you like Rangers, characters like this,
Right.
A character like this would probably appeal to you.
Right. Okay. A physician, that's pretty obvious. Prophet, oracle. You have abilities to, not necessarily to foretell the future, but to find information that's useful to you. And a tutor, which is another one that I think is pretty unique. It's basically someone who can train other people. And so you can pick, a tutor can have pretty much any skill, and can buy abilities from other archetypes, and then they can train people in skills. So it's like Charon, the centaur, is a famous example of that. Or in the Hercules, the Disney Hercules movie, the little satyr guy, because it would be that too. Right. So here's the skills.
Okay.
Depending on your archetype, you'll start with certain skills.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's say Siren starts with music, dance, beauty, rhetoric, and art.
Mm-hmm. But you can add to them with.
But yeah, you can
okay.
use your 8 points
Yeah,
to
the
buy
8 points.
skills.
So that you're not making not everybody's playing the same character. You can have
Right.
you can have a character with you can make them more unique, more what you want. Yeah.
Plus, I mean, everybody really has these skills. They're just okay. Like I mentioned, that the aspects range from 1 to 8.
Mm-hmm.
So each of these skills start, except for a few exceptions, start at your aspect rating times 10 as a percentage.
Okay.
So for fortitude skills,
Yeah.
so you would have a warrior. Say your fortitude is 6. You would start out with 60%.
Okay.
Warrior, and 60% in strength and 60%.
Yeah.
Unless you add, if you have that skill, then you'll have extra points.
Right, and we'll cover more how that's done in future videos when we do encounters and things like that. But that's the general gist of how that works.
Some of these skills that have asterisks are skills that you don't start with. So you would have to actually have that skill in order to use it.
Okay.
But now we have some extra divine gifts and tragic flaws that you could have, like nobility, royalty.
Right.
And then the tragic flaws like blindness,
Yeah.
cursed, elderly.
One of my favorite aspects of Deadlands has edges and flaws, which give you, like one of your edges could be that you're oversized, so you're pretty stout. Your flaws could be you're nearsighted, and you can custom make characters that way. And make them unique, and so that's kind of what this is. And I know a lot of other games use it too. So if you like that kind of thing, this is a game for you to try.
Right. So now divine parents, that's if you're a demigod. It's sort of recommending what your divine parent would be, like which god, depending on what archetype you are or what.
Right, like
what
if you're a giant, for instance, then with your divine parent might be Poseidon, Gaia,
Right.
Whereas if you were a prophet, Apollo, no brainer there.
Prometheus, Helios.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
That way, even if you don't know, if you're like, okay, I said this in my last video, Mike has forgotten more about Greek mythology than most people learn. His professor didn't know as much as he knew. If you don't let that intimidate you, because he breaks it down and gives you suggestions in this book,
Right.
that are pretty easy to follow.
Right. Yeah, that's the idea. It's just, because not everybody's going to know.
Right.
But I try to make it simple enough that it's suggested, what direction to go. Now, finishing your character. Of course, you're going to have, name, gender, homeland, character description. I have some other notes on creating characters. Like, what if somebody wants to play a character that's black or something like that? Which is always, it's just possible.
Yeah.
You can have any kind of unusual. Something by unusual, I mean something that wouldn't necessarily be native to Greek
You don't
mythology.
typically think of people of color in Greek mythology, but everybody existed at that point. Here's how you figure that out.
Right. In fact, I even have some names, like example names. I tried to pick ones that weren't like famous characters, so you could use them. Male names and female names. Now, whether or not you can pronounce them, that's another thing. But
that's what Google Translate is for.
Right. Yeah, I know a lot of people have problems with these Greek names, but they're Zoothipi. Like I said, I mean, you just
it-
look them up.
It's
You'll
all
find-
Greek to me. So
Yeah.
moving on.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the internet is a great, wonderful thing.
Yeah, there's
Learn how to-
no shortage of websites where you can find this information out.
Yeah, or just pronounce them however you want.
Yeah.
Doesn't really matter. It's a game.
All right. Okay, so to recap, you have aspects, and aspects are done with D6s.
Right.
All right, and you have automatic skills and gifts and stuff that your archetypes and give you, and you can add to them with the 8 points that you're given.
Mm-hmm.
How do you improve your character in this game?
Well, in this game, I have something called glory points, which
Mm-hmm.
is like it's kind of like experience points, but it's basically I call them glory points because it's how much fame your character has, or how much glory you've achieved.
Mm-hmm.
But you earn them when you finish an adventure. I call it adventures labors in this game,
Yeah, which is clever.
like the labors of Hercules,
Right.
And then a labor that or an adventure that goes on for like a campaign would be called an Odyssey.
Huh. Clever.
Glory points are spent in the same way that those 8 points that you originally got are spent.
Mm-hmm.
Then you can add to you could add to your aspects. You could add more skills or more points to your skills that you already have. You could increase your divine gifts.
So it's a point buy system.
Yeah.
Is what is the word for it?
Right.
Or the phrase for it.
Right. It's a die 100 point buy system, I guess.
Yes.
Would be the way to describe it.
Occasionally using six-siders.
Right.
Well, there you go. I hope this video gave you a bit of an idea of what to expect from Argonauts Odyssey. Let me know what you thought in the comments. And if you liked this video, why not give it a thumbs up? And while you're down there, why not subscribe as well? And don't forget to hit that little bell icon so you don't miss a single video. I'll be doing another video on Argonauts Odyssey later on down the line. Thanks for watching. I love the lounging Poseidon. This has been one of my favorite illustrations you've ever done. He's just kind of chilling.